10 to 20% property falls. Let's have a look. Good morning, everyone. Florian.heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I have my piping hot morning coffee, and I thought we'd have a look at this article from Domain, discussing, well, multiple auction results, discussing the auction clearance rates, and the potential predictions of 10 to 20% falls. Now, I've got a few articles I want to discuss regarding property today, and I really get the feeling there is a sense of FOMO and, well, let's just say cherry picking in some of the results here. Maybe they don't represent true and accurate, well, the average person's market. You just I'll go through this and let me know in the comments if you know your standard specky home is worth $4 million and goes for $1 million above reserve. I mean, is that what normally happens? Maybe it's in Brisbane, not average. Maybe it's like that in Sydney and Melbourne all the time. I know property prices are insane, but let's just have a look. Before we jump through this article, I'm going to bring up a website, the Property Council Data Room, and we will have a look. We'll have a look at just some median house prices, average house prices, before we look at this article. This is a great website if you're interested in the economy and property and everything. Well presented, easy to access. So let's have a look at median residential house value. And this data is from February 2020. So in Sydney, you've got the median value is at $920,000. I mean, that's still pretty hefty. A lot of work to pay that off for an average punter. A lot of work for everyone to pay that off. Melbourne at 722. The capital of Australia and the home of our glorious bureaucrats that keep this well-oiled machine running is at 673. Their weighted average is at 667. Brisbane is at 540,000 weighted average. Hobart 500, which surprises me. Well, no, it doesn't surprise me because of all the media I've read, but it just shows the spike that Hobart has taken. Perth 480, Darwin at 466, and Adelaide at 462. Remember, this is from February. And then we'll bring up this chart here, everyone, and we'll just have a look at property prices, and I'll have a shot of coffee, and you can see the increase in properties in September 2005. It's a good coffee, everyone. So we're looking at averages between under $1,900,000 or just over 900 grand down to 460 grand. They're the median property prices. And we'll jump to units, and you're going from 700 down to 300 with the weighted average of 569,000. So let's just keep this in the back of our mind as we're going through this article and look at the type of properties that they've selected to create buzz or to write these pieces about, because I don't think they're really average. But then again, average isn't exciting. Average doesn't generate FOMO. I think we're going to see examples of the upper quartile of property where it's probably location, the quality of the build. People are just paying for. There's going to be continued demand in the good suburbs. We have a look here, everyone. I'll bring up this unit price growth chart. You can just see along the sea of Sydney there, the properties, well, the price growth of units of all things has been higher than out in the west. A standard specky out in the west hasn't grown very much, hasn't done as well. It's different markets. So, Sydney and Melbourne's auction markets recorded big sales at the weekend, but this was not enough to strengthen clearance rates. Oh, clearance rates, one of my favorite topics. I will just bring up my website and draw your attention to this article here about fake auction clearance rates. If you haven't read it, please have a look at it or look at the videos I did discussing it. Thanks to the team at Fresh Canvas who data mined the websites, Domain and some other examples, we could see that they were over-reporting the results. People would just, real estate agents wouldn't advise when their property was passed in, and so they wouldn't update it. Then all of a sudden the property would appear for sale a few days later, and they wouldn't take that into account, going, oh, that auction obviously wasn't successful. So there's always going to be a bias to the positive, because just the personality of the people you're dealing with. And the worrying thing is they have access to that information. They've got it all in their database because the addresses of these properties never change. So they could be updating it on the fly straight away. Maybe issuing press releases. Auction clearance rate down 10% to what it actually was. But they don't do that, do they? They just stop releasing data and their measurements of property value because they don't want to spook the market. In Sydney, 2 properties sold for more than $4 million, including a derelict terrace in Darlinghurst that fetched an eye-watering $4.6 million, $500,000 above reserve. Okay, so $4.6 million when the median price in Sydney is $920,000. So this isn't a normal property. This isn't a normal property. It's not going to affect the majority of the market. The other was a stunning 3-bedroom apartment overlooking Coogee Beach, which sold for 4.3, a whopping 1.1 above reserve. It was the first time the tightly held apartment had been on the market in 25 years, Donnella's Alexander Phillips said. The auction had 10 registered bidders, 5 of whom actively competed for the keys. A downsizer was the buyer, Mr. Phillips said. He had sold in Tamarara on Friday to buy this on Sydney. What is with all these suburb names in Sydney? Why they're all weird? Let's get some normal bloody names in Sydney. Come on! I thought it was an English bloody city. I shouldn't. Yeah. Anyway. And if you complain about my suburb pronunciation, remember you're being racist because English is my second language. I'm a first-generation immigrant, so give me all those social justice points, everyone. When do I cash them in? It's probably offset by my white male privilege, but at least I get my fantastic hairstyle. So back to the article and stop rambling, Florian. You can tell I haven't had much of my first coffee this morning. Sydney recorded a preliminary auction clearance rate stat of 62.6% on Saturday from only 266 reported results. There were 440 auctions scheduled and 74 properties were withdrawn. So here's the thing, it's the ones where they don't have any data on. They're just treating that as the same results as these ones here, which probably isn't true. The chances that maybe a big chunk of those that weren't reported on, no results given may have all been passed in. I'm sure some of them sold and it's just been delayed, but it's always lower than expected. 62.6% isn't that impressive. Melbourne's preliminary auction clearance rate was similar, sitting at 61.7% from 313 reported results. There were 480 auctions scheduled and 37 properties withdrawn. AMP Capital Chief Economist Shane Oliver expected the clearance rate to drop to about 55% in each city once all results were in, similar to the low rate during the property market downturn that ended in the later half of 2019. It's gone back to where we were a year ago before the market started to pick up, Dr. Oliver told Domain. He expected property prices would fall by 10% in Sydney and Melbourne due to the pandemic crisis, having revised a previous forecast of a 20% decline. So he's no longer arguing for a 20% decline, he's saying only a 10% decline. We'll have to see. Because here, the next item they're bringing up in the article is really the most concerning thing to watch. The mortgage holidays offered by banks. There we go. The JobKeeper and JobSeeker benefits from the federal government and low interest rates were helping to keep the market buoyant, Dr. Oliver said. But we'll have to see what happens when the mortgage holiday is the one I'm really most concerned about, when the banks have positioned themselves well enough to withstand the market taking a hit. We've seen in other articles, professional people, project manager, warehouse manager, would be on a good bloody income. PMs earn good money, everyone. They earn bloody good money. 6 figures to $250,000, depending on how good you are, they can earn good coin. And this couple are dependent on their mortgage holiday to keep their house and JobKeeper. They've got no reserve. So I'm making a video about super and going how people should have access to their own money. And then other people will say, Florian, you're being stupid. these people are just too dumb to manage their own money, and I find that quite insulting. But then, because, people should have access to their own money, but then I'll read an article like that about a professional, highly educated project manager. I don't think it has anything to do with stupidity, to be honest, where they don't have a reserve. They don't have 6 months set aside. I think it's just our complete lack of financial education in our education system. None. We got nothing. I'm just thinking back. I've done 2 university degrees. The financial education we received in that was nothing. And now you've got all this social justice rubbish coming into these degrees that they get people to do. And probably still no financial literacy. It's crazy. High school, nothing, hardly anything. That would... Maybe it's... I'll put my tinfoil hat on. Maybe it's all by intention to keep people trapped into debt and to, running through the... So stressed, they'll never question the political environment they're in. They're just little economic units working themselves to death. And this forced lockdown has been the first time people have actually stepped back and started questioning, why am I living my life like this? What do you reckon? Do you think I'm going off on a crazy tangent there? Maybe I am. I need more coffee. But the real test of the market will be in October after these benefits end, and the spring market was in full swing, he said. I think it'll be from October to February. I think we'll start to see people may having to resort to forced sales or to shift property. In Melbourne, the market is already facing testing times because social distancing restrictions on public auctions and open homes have been extended for 3 weeks. Only 20 people will be able to attend public auctions until July 12th, despite an early announcement that public auctions in Melbourne will be able to have up to 50 people attending from midnight on Sunday, June 21. Premier Daniel Andrews said the number of new COVID-19 cases throughout last week was mostly blamed on large family get-togethers, halted plans to ease restrictions. So, there you go. There you go. As we've seen across the world, the virus has the ability to turn a few cases into hundreds in a matter of days, Mr. Andrews said on Saturday. That's why we also need to delay an increase to gathering limits in businesses and community facilities. But see, there's no mention of these protests, so why do we need to worry about these increases in gathering limits? Maybe we can have these increases in public auctions outside. They're on the street, aren't they? Correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't most of these auctions out on the street? At least that's all the images I see. If you can have 20,000 people marching up the street, surely you can have 20 people standing around at on a street corner. Maybe I just don't understand. Even the AFL was affected after Essendon backman Coleman McKean was diagnosed with the pandemic. While the team was dealing with the aftermath, the suburbs of Essendon grabbed some big auction results. A 5-bedroom house in 77 McCracken Street sold under the hammer for $2.9 million, just above its asking price of $2.8 and $2.98. Jealous Craig, Essendon director Christian Lonzi, said 4 active bidders fought for the keys to the home, which was snapped up by a man who wanted to move closer to his extended family. Okay, so we're talking $2.9 million. $2.9 million. Let's jump back here to have a look. The median price in Melbourne is $722,000. So I guess Essendon isn't the working class suburb I remember it as being back when I was a kid in the 80s in Victoria. So I think we've adjusted prices by around 10%, and I think that's given confidence to the market. He believed the ongoing restrictions for auctions could have an impact on the confidence of those planning to sell their homes, but low stock numbers meant houses put on the market were selling well. In neighbouring Moonee Pond, a 4-bedroom home at 24 Laura Street sold for $2.2 under the hammer. It only took a few bids for the price to reach the reserve of $1.8. Alex Puglia said. Mr. Puglia said 6 bidders, all local families, competed for the property, which is on the market for the first time since '62. $2.2 million, everyone. The average, that's 3 times the median price. It climbed all the way pretty quickly, Mr. Puglia said. While homes such as those in Laura Street have been selling well in Melbourne's inner north-west suburbs, the local apartment market has been struggling, he said. Okay, and that is the investment side of the market. We're seeing the differences there. I mean, the 610, that's not a very big block. That's not a very big block at all. Wow. But at least you have a garden there. At least you have a bit of breathing space. Buxton Real Estate, Bentley's Simon Pintado, said the sale price was at the top end of the asking price on the property. It was a unique buy because the home on 610 squares was sold with permits for 2 townhouses. Well, yeah, I mean, still, even townhouses on a block like that, it's going to do better than apartments. You can split it and get some townhouses there. In Sydney, sales were reaching above the reserve with strong results for properties including 32 King William Street, Greenwich, was sold for 2.8, 400 above reserve. Again, remember, Sydney, I'm looking at it right now, 920 is the median price. These aren't average properties, everyone. This isn't the majority of the market. These aren't people with their little specky homes in the suburbs. Surrey's auctions, Chris Surrey auctioned the property in the lower North Shore on behalf of Harbourline Real Estate. He said the property, which was contested by 11 registered bidders, was purchased by a mum for her daughter to live in. Well, I mean, that's nice. That's nice if your mum can buy you a house. I mean, if you have the money and the capability to do that for your child, go right ahead. That's fantastic. That's good. That's good. But this isn't normal. This isn't. Well, is it normal, everyone? Is this how far the class divide has reached in Australia, where parents are buying houses for the kids to live in? I somehow suspect it isn't happening all the time. The opening, I'm sure there are parents that are supporting kids getting into houses, but that's a bit different than buying one outright. Actually, no, wait. There was a guy at uni whose parents did that. Bought one outright, but he was from Hong Kong and his father was doing export from China, so, I mean, good on it. The opening bid came in right on the reserve, he said. Meanwhile, 4 bidders turned out for the auction at 28 Orondale Way in Sydney's northwest. The tightly held home reached 1.4 million, 30,000 above reserve. Only 30,000, not even 6 figures above reserve. What are you doing, lazy auctioneer? Stuart Benson of Benson Auctions sold the 3-bedroom home on behalf of Lewis Carr Real Estate. I'd have been happy with the price prior pandemic, so I'm thrilled that we were able to reach that price today for our seller, Betty, who now moves into retirement living, Mr. Benson said. So, downsizing. Well, 1.4 million. He noted that lower bidder numbers were reflecting a tighter lending conditions, but said those with approved finance meant business. There's no doubt that those are able to bid are bidding strongly. It's a competitive market, he said. So there you go. We've got predictions of, 10% falls in property, but still people jumping and going above reserve. But we're looking at cases which, aren't really average, are they? Aren't the median. So what do you think? What's the point of this? To generate interest, to get FOMO, to get people jumping in? Does this encourage you to jump into the property market? Or are you waiting a bit longer to see what happens when all of these support mechanisms get removed? Or are you shopping for a house to buy for your kids? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create, here there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us via our affiliate links at Amazon or eBay or Independent Reserve and Kucoin. You can buy our merch from HeiseSays. You can support us using Gold Pass, or you can use PayPal. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you in the next episode.